The wrong key, the wrong floor, the wrong door. I stumbled into the penthouse suite, and my world stopped, because he looked up and his eyes were the kind that never let anything go. My heels were killing me. That's the only thing I could think about as the elevator dinged open on the penthouse floor. I, Zara, was supposed to be in room 1208, but the hotel manager, flustered by the chaos of the art gala downstairs, had pressed a new key card into my hand. An upgrade, Miss Bennett, for your trouble. I was too tired to argue, too tired to even look at the new number. I just wanted a bath. I pushed the heavy, dark wood door open. Hello, I called out, expecting an empty, opulent suite. The room wasn't empty. It was vast, dark, and silent, lit only by the sprawling city lights beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. The air was thick with the scent of expensive whiskey and sandalwood. And in a high-backed chair facing the window, a man sat in silhouette. He didn't turn, but the air cracked with tension. I'm so sorry, I stammered, my hand flying to my mouth. The front desk. They gave me this key, they said. My voice died. Two other men who I hadn't even seen materialized from the shadows near the bar. They were dressed in impeccable black suits, their faces like stone. But it was the man in the chair who held all the power. He slowly, deliberately turned his head. Even in the dim light, he was devastating. Sharp, sculpted features, dark hair swept back from his forehead, and eyes so dark they seemed to drink the light in the room. He wasn't surprised. He wasn't even angry. He looked amused. He lifted one elegant hand. The two bodyguards stopped, their hands hovering inside their jackets. My heart hammered against my ribs. A frantic bird in a cage. This wasn't a banker. This wasn't a CEO. This was danger. When was the last time a simple mistake changed your entire life? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more. He rose from the chair, not quickly, but with a fluid, predatory grace that sent a shiver straight down my spine. He was tall. He crossed the space between us, stopping just a foot away. I had to crane my neck to look up at him. I could feel the heat radiating from his body. His voice was a low, velvety rumble. You opened the wrong door, Agassi. I couldn't breathe. I just shook my head. The useless key card still clutched in my hand. He reached out, not to touch me, but to gently take the key from my trembling fingers. His fingertips brushed my palm. A jolt of electricity, cold and hot all at once. He studied the key, then looked back at me, a tiny, dangerous smirk playing on his lips. Room 1208. But you are here. He took a step closer. And now, he whispered, his voice wrapping around me. You are mine. The words hung in the air, a silken, terrifying trap now. You are mine. I let out a laugh, but it came out strained, a high-pitched, nervous sound. Look, I don't know who you think I am, but you're mistaken. It was an accident. I'll go. I tried to step back to pivot toward the door. It was only 10 feet away. Jean Tejo didn't move a muscle, yet he was everywhere. His presence filled the room. He just watched me, that predator's amusement still in his eyes. You will go nowhere. Please, I whispered, my voice trembling now. This is a misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding. He tilted his head, his gaze sweeping over me from the beaded strap of my gala dress to my shaking hands. It wasn't a leer. It was an appraisal, like he was examining a piece of art he'd just acquired. You saw this room. You saw me. In my world, Agassi, there are no happy accidents, only consequences. I flinched. I won't say anything. I didn't see anything. Just let me go. I'm just an artist. I'm here for the gala. I don't know you. You are Zara Bennett, he stated. It wasn't a question. You are CEO. You paint with oils. You prefer the color blue. And you are terrified. My blood ran cold. He knew me. I know everyone who enters this hotel, he said, stepping so close I could see the single tiny mole beneath his left eye. I was forced to look up, trapped between his gaze and the sheer size of his bodyguards. The sandalwood scent was overwhelming, intoxicating. My heart wasn't just hammering, it was trying to escape my chest. I took a sharp breath, trying to find my courage. You can't just keep me. His voice dropped, losing its amused edge and hardening into steel. I am Jean Tejo, and what I can, I do. He turned his back to me, a clear dismissal. He walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. My legs finally worked. I lunged for the door. I didn't even make it 2 steps before the bodyguards crossed in front of me, blocking the path. The sound, sharp and final, echoed behind me. I spun around. Gene hadn't moved. He was watching my reflection in the glass. He lifted a hand and spoke in Korean to his men. Ganui moden gosawa. Bring everything of hers. He turned his head, his dark eyes locking onto mine in the reflection. Your room, 1208. It is no longer yours. Your things will be brought here. You will stay where I can see you. The hotel room, once a symbol of luxury, had just become a cage. This is insane, I snapped, my voice shaking with a pathetic mix of terror and anger. You can't just abduct me. I'm an American citizen. People know I'm here. My gallery knows. Gene merely lifted an eyebrow. He was back in his chair by the window, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He hadn't touched it. He just held it, the amber liquid catching the light. Your gallery, he said, his voice a bored monotone, believes you are so inspired by your new complimentary penthouse suite that you have turned off your phone to focus on your art. They were very understanding. Ice water sleuthed through my veins. You called them already. I am thorough. My own phone. I fumbled for the small clutch purse I still had slung over my shoulder. It was gone. I dropped it. It didn't matter. One of his stone-faced men was probably wiping it clean as we spoke. What do you want? I demanded, planting my feet. If I was going to be a prisoner, I wouldn't be a cowering one. Money. I don't have any. I'm an artist, not a not whatever you are. This finally brought a reaction. His eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in calculation. He stood up again, and my stupid, traitorous body tensed, half in fear, half in something else. This close, I could see the fine texture of his white shirt, the way it stretched across his shoulders. What I am, he said, his voice dangerously soft, is a man who values privacy. And you, Zara Bennett, you saw my face. You saw my men. You stumbled into a meeting you should not have. I cried. Just you and your men. You weren't, I don't know, doing Mafia stuff. He smiled. It was the most terrifying thing I had ever seen. Mafia stuff. He savored the words as if they were a new flavor. You watch too many movies. He took a step toward me. I took an involuntary step back, hitting the cold marble of the bar. Trapped. He didn't touch me. He just leaned in close enough for me to see the individual black lashes framing his dark eyes. I don't need money. I want silence. And until I am sure of yours, you are a liability. A beautiful, loud, terrified liability. His gaze dropped to my mouth. My breath hitched. My entire body went rigid. This man was a monster. He was my captor. So, why was my skin tingling? Why was I noticing the sharp, clean scent of his soap under the sandalwood and whiskey? The heavy wooden door opened. Two of his men wheeled in my luggage. My entire life packed into 2 suitcases now delivered to my cage. Unpack, Gene ordered, stepping away. The spell was broken. Make yourself comfortable. You will be here for some time. The suite was massive, all glass and cold marble, but it felt like a shoe box with him in it. For hours, I sat on a plush cream-colored sofa that probably cost more than my apartment while he worked. Gene Tejo was at a large mahogany desk, his back to me. He took call after call, his voice a low, rhythmic stream of Korean. It was sharp, clipped, and utterly commanding. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The authority was absolute. His bodyguards were posted outside the suite, but he was the most dangerous thing in the room. I was his prisoner, but he was ignoring me. It was a strange kind of torture, making me feel insignificant and at the same time hyper-aware of his every move. Finally, thirst won out over fear. I needed water. The kitchen area was on the other side of the room, requiring me to walk directly past his desk. I stood, my legs stiff. I moved silently, my bare feet padding on the thick rug. He stopped talking mid-sentence. I froze. Slowly, he swiveled in his chair, his dark eyes pinning me. He muted his call. Do you need something? He asked, his voice smooth. Water, I said, my voice coming out as a croak. He gestured to the kitchen. My home is yours, he said, the irony thick. For now. I hurried to the kitchen, my back prickling, entirely aware of his gaze on me. I grabbed a bottle of water from the massive stainless steel fridge. As I turned, my hand shaking, I let out a sharp yap. He was right there. I hadn't heard him move. I stumbled back, my shoulders hitting the cold metal of the fridge. My heart leaped into my throat. He hadn't moved to threaten me. He was just there, closer than he had any right to be. He reached past me, his arm brushing my shoulder to open a cabinet above my head. His body heat enveloped me, the scent of sandalwood, and something uniquely him filling my lungs. I was trapped between the fridge and his body. "Tea," he murmured, his voice a low vibration that I felt in my bones. He pulled down a small wooden box. He was so close I could see the faint stubble on his jaw, the way his dark lashes cast shadows on his cheekbones. My entire body was a live wire screaming danger at the top of its lungs. But another traitorous part of me was just aware. I was too tired to run, too angry to cower. He stopped just inches away. He didn't reach for me. He just looked at me, his gaze tracing my features as if trying to memorize them. "You are shaking," he observed, his voice a low rumble. "I wonder why," I retorted, though the fight was draining out of me, leaving only a cold dread. "He will come for you," Jean said, his voice soft. "Victor, he saw he will try to use you to break me." "Then let me go," I whispered, the plea tearing from my throat. "Let me go and I'll disappear. I'll never tell anyone. It is too late for that." He lifted a hand, and I flinched. He paused, his hand hovering in the air between us. Then slowly, as if approaching a skittish animal, he brushed his thumb over my cheekbone. His touch was shockingly gentle, a callous, warm jolt against my cold skin. "When I saw him look at you," he said, his voice rough, "I wanted to end him. Not for business, not for pride." He met my eyes. "For you." My breath hitched. He was confessing something. He was admitting a weakness. And then his gaze dropped to my lips. The air between us was electric, charged with fear and an impossible magnetic pull. "You," he whispered, "are the most dangerous thing that has ever happened to me, Zora Bennett." He leaned in, closing the small distance between us. His other hand found my waist, pulling me against him with a possessive, desperate strength. His kiss wasn't gentle. It was a claim. It was a raw, bruising confession of every bit of tension that had been building since I'd stumbled through his door. It tasted of whiskey, sandalwood, and absolute power. And the most terrifying part, I didn't pull away. The kiss ended, but the charge remained. I was pressed against him, my hands on his chest, my heart hammering a rhythm that was equal parts terror and a wild, undeniable desire. He was breathing hard, his forehead resting against mine, his dark eyes closed as if he was fighting a war with himself. He had claimed me, and I had let him. The beep click of the penthouse door sliding open shattered the moment. We sprang apart. I stumbled back, my lips still tingling, my face flushed. A woman stood in the entryway. She was tall, impossibly elegant, with a sheet of straight black hair and a red dress that screamed money and power. She didn't look surprised. She looked furious. Her cold eyes ran over me, my simple dress, my bare feet, my kiss-swollen mouth with pure disdain. Then she looked at Jean. "Jean Appa," she said, her voice a sharp polished blade. "I let myself in. I see you are occupied." "Appa." The words so intimate, so familiar, hit me like a slap. Jin's entire demeanor shifted. The vulnerability I'd seen, the raw emotion, it vanished. The ice-cold boss was back. His face was a mask of unreadable steel. He didn't look at me. He didn't explain. "Sujin," he said, his voice flat. "You should not be here." "Clearly," she scoffed, walking into the room, all ownership and arrogance. "This is your new pet. I thought she was just a witness. You're messing with her. Just a witness." Humiliation burned up my throat, hot and acidic. The kiss, his words, "for you." It was all a lie, a game. He was just a monster, and I was just a toy he decided to play with. I couldn't speak. I felt naked, stupid, and utterly broken. "Zara," Jean said, his voice hard. He still wasn't looking at me. He was watching Sujin. "Don't," I whispered, my voice breaking. I took a step back, wrapping my arms around myself. "Don't say my name. I get it. I was just a problem you had to solve, right? Was this part of the solution?" He finally turned his head, his dark eyes flashing. "That is not what this is." "Then what is it?" Sujin demanded, crossing her arms. He looked between us, two women on opposite sides of his world. And he said nothing. That silence was the real betrayal. It was the confirmation. I meant nothing. I was his property, his prisoner, and for a moment his distraction. "Go to your room," he ordered me, his voice devoid of all the warmth he'd shown me moments before. I flinched as if he'd struck me. "Yes, boss," I spat, the word dripping with all my broken pride and shame. I turned and ran, not to the guest room, but to the front door. I didn't care about his men. I didn't care. I yanked the door open and slammed it shut behind me, the sound echoing the shattering of my heart. I didn't get far. I burst out of the penthouse, my bare feet slapping against the plush carpet of the exclusive hallway. I was sobbing, a raw, ugly sound that was torn from my chest. I felt like the world's biggest fool. I'd fallen for the oldest trick. A pretty cage and a handsome monster. I jabbed the elevator button over and over, my palm stinging. Come on. My blood turned to ice. It wasn't one of the guards. Jean Tejo stood at the end of the hall by the open door of the penthouse. Sujin was gone. He was alone, his chest heaving. He had run after me. Leave me alone, I spat, my voice thick with tears. Go back to your business arrangement. She is gone. I don't care, I yelled just as the elevator dinged and the door slid open. I lunged inside, jabbing the button for the lobby. The doors were closing. A hand shot between them, forcing them back open. He stepped inside and shut, and the door slid shut, encasing us in the small golden mahogany box. I pressed myself into the farthest corner, as far from him as I could get. You cannot go down there, he said, his voice a low, rough growl. Watch me. I'd rather take my chances with Victor. At least he's honest about what he wants. You just play games. Was I fun, Jean? Was I a fun witness to mess with? The words hit him. I saw his shoulders tense. He didn't answer. Instead, he slammed his hand against the emergency stop button. The elevator jolted, shuddered, and came to a dead halt between floors. The sudden silence was deafening. What are you doing? I shrieked, a new wave of panic rising. He turned on me. In 2 strides, he crossed the small space, bracing his hands on the wall on either side of my head. I was quiet. His face was inches from mine. His dark eyes frantic, his mask completely gone. She is nothing, he growled. She is a past. I am tied to a duty. She is not this. And what is this? I whispered, my anger trembling. This, he said, his voice cracking, is you in my penthouse, in my head, making me feel anything. Victor will not just break you, Zara. He will destroy you to hurt me. I cannot let that happen. Why? I cried, my own tears blurring his face. Because I'm your property. No, he roared, and the word vibrated through the small space. He leaned his forehead against the wall next to my head, his eyes squeezed shut. Because you are the first thing I have ever wanted to protect, even from myself. He looked at me, his gaze raw, desperate, and stripped of all his power. Do not run from me, Zara, because I will always come after you. Run, and you are prey. Stay, and you are mine to defend. He had made his choice, and now, trapped in a steel box with the most dangerous man I'd ever met, I had to make mine. The emergency stoplight cast a faint reddish glow over his face, highlighting the desperation I'd never believed he was capable of. He was a mafia boss, a monster, but he was also just a man laid bare in a stalled elevator. You're a fool if you think you can protect me, I whispered, my voice trembling. Victor, your entire world, it's death. It's darkness. Then be my light, he said, his voice raw. He didn't move, but his eyes pleaded. I am surrounded by darkness, Zara. I have been my entire life. When you stumbled into that room, it was the first time I saw something that wasn't part of it. Something I didn't want to control. I wanted to just have. My heart ached. He was right. I couldn't run. Victor would find me. And this man, this terrifying, broken man, he wouldn't just wallow. He'd tear the world apart to find me. Slowly, my hands, which had been pressed against the cold wall, found his chest. I felt his heart hammering under my palms just as frantically as my own. This is insane, I breathed. Love is, he replied, his voice. He watched me, giving me all the power. I was the one who leaned in. I was the one who made the choice. I pressed my lips to his, and this kiss wasn't a claim or a capture. It was an answer. It was a surrender from both of us. He let out a breath he'd been holding, and his arms wrapped around me, pulling me away from the wall and into him, into his protection. He reached over my head and pressed the button. The elevator hummed back to life, and we started to ascend back to the penthouse, back to the cage. But when the doors opened and we stepped back into the suite, it didn't feel like a cage anymore. He led me to the sofa, his hand never leaving mine. He sat me down, his eyes scanning my face. He echoed his words from that first night, his voice thick with a new meaning. You opened the wrong door, Agassi. I looked up at him, my eyes clear. Did I? A slow smile, the first real one I'd ever seen, touched his lips. He knelt in front of me, taking both my hands in his. "I told you, now you are mine." It was a threat, an order. He brought my hands to his lips, kissing my knuckles. "Let me say it again." He looked up, his dark eyes holding all the promises of a dangerous future, but a future with him. "Now you are mine, Zara Bennett, and I am yours. Do you believe a single mistake, one wrong turn, can lead you to exactly where you were meant to be?" 3 weeks passed in Jin's penthouse like a fever dream. I learned the rhythms of his world. Morning coffee shared in careful silence. Afternoon meetings where I became a beautiful ornament, proof of his power. Evening conversations that danced around everything we couldn't say. I was no longer just his captive. I was becoming something more dangerous. His weakness. The dress Jin had chosen for tonight was midnight blue silk that hugged every curve. His fingers had lingered when he fastened the diamond necklace around my throat, his breath warm against my neck. "You are perfect," he had whispered, and I hated how the words made my heart race. The restaurant was exclusive, the kind of place where power brokers made deals that shaped the city. Jin sat across from me, discussing shipping routes with two men who looked like they could break someone in half without breaking a sweat. I was supposed to be decoration, silent and beautiful, but my artist's eye caught details others missed. The nervous twitch in the younger man's jaw. The way his companion's eyes kept darting to the exits. Something was wrong. Jin noticed my tension. His hand covered mine on the table, a gesture that looked affectionate, but I felt the warning in his grip. "Stay calm," his touch said. "Trust me." The doors burst open. Victor strode in with 4 men, all guns and cold smiles. The restaurant's other patrons scrambled for cover as Jin's bodyguards moved to block the exits. But Victor had come prepared. Too many men. Too many guns. Jin was on his feet instantly, his body shielding me as chaos erupted around us. "Get down," he barked, pushing me under the table as gunfire shattered the elegant ambience. I crawled toward the kitchen as Jin and his men returned fire. Through the maze of overturned chairs and broken glass, I saw Victor advancing, his gun trained on Jin's back. Jin was focused on the threat in front of him. He didn't see Victor coming. My hand found a champagne bottle, heavy crystal that could crack a skull. I didn't think. I moved. The bottle connected with Victor's temple, and he went down hard. Jin spun, saw Victor unconscious at my feet, saw me standing over him with blood on my hands and terror in my eyes. The fighting stopped. Victor's men retreated when they saw their leader down. In the sudden silence, Jin looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "You saved my life," he said, his voice raw with something I couldn't name. I dropped the bottle, and it shattered on the marble floor. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely stand. I just reacted. "I couldn't let him hurt you." "Why?" Jin asked, stepping over Victor's unconscious form to reach me. His hands framed my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. "Why did you protect me, Zara?" "Because despite everything, despite the fear and the cage and the way you've turned my world upside down, I think I'm falling in love with you." The words hung between us like a bridge neither of us knew how to cross. Jin's thumb traced my cheekbone, his touch impossibly gentle. "I have never wanted to keep anyone safe the way I want to keep you safe," he whispered. "You terrify me, Zara Bennett. You make me weak. You make me human." His kiss was different this time. Not a claim or a conquest, but a question, a plea. I kissed him back and tasted possibility and danger and something that might have been hope. When we broke apart, Victor was stirring on the floor, and Jin's men were securing him with zip ties. The real world crashed back in. Jin pulled out his phone, speaking rapid Korean to someone on the other end. "Cleanup team. Lawyers." The machinery of his empire clicking into place. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now Victor learns what happens to people who threaten what's mine." Jin's voice was steel again, but his hand was gentle as he touched my face. "And you, Agassi, you decide if you want to stay in this world or if you want me to find you a way out. After tonight, after everything, I should have chosen freedom. I should have run as far and fast as I could. Instead, I looked into his dark eyes and saw my future. The penthouse suite felt different when we returned. Not a cage anymore, but a sanctuary. Jin poured himself a whiskey and me a glass of wine. We sat on the sofa where this had all begun, the city lights painting shadows across his face. "Sujin will come back," I said. "She won't give up easily." Jin's jaw tightened. Sujin is my past. A business arrangement our families made when we were children. She has power in Korea, connections I needed. But she is not this. He gestured between us. She is not you. What am I to you? I asked, needing to hear him say it. You are the woman who walked through the wrong door and showed me what I was missing. You are the artist who sees beauty in everything, even in someone like me. You are my weakness and my strength. You are mine, Zara, if you'll have me. I set down my wine glass and moved closer to him on the sofa. His eyes never left mine as I reached for his hands. When I first stumbled into this room, I thought I was in the wrong place. Now I think maybe I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Jin's smile was soft, real, nothing like the dangerous masks he wore for the rest of the world. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Victor's organization would want revenge. Sujin would make her displeasure known. The FBI might come knocking, asking questions about the restaurant incident. But tonight, in this moment, none of that mattered. I had chosen this dangerous man and his dangerous world. I had chosen to be his light in the darkness, just as he had become mine. He pulled me closer, his forehead resting against mine. Now you are mine, he whispered, echoing his words from that first night. And I am yours. The city sprawled below us, a maze of lights and shadows and possibilities. Somewhere out there, Victor was probably plotting revenge from his hospital bed. Somewhere out there, Sujin was making plans to reclaim what she thought belonged to her. But here, in Jin's arms, I felt safe. Protected. Home. Do you believe a single mistake, one wrong turn can lead you to exactly where you were meant to be? I thought about that question as Jin carried me to his bedroom, as he made love to me with a tenderness that contradicted everything I thought I knew about dangerous men. The answer was yes. Sometimes the wrong door is exactly the right one. Sometimes getting lost is how you find yourself. Sometimes the most dangerous choice is the one that saves you. When I woke the next morning, sunlight was streaming through the floor to ceiling windows. Jean was already awake, watching me sleep with an expression so tender it made my heart ache. Good morning, Agassi, he said softly. Are you ready for your new life? I stretched, feeling wonderfully, thoroughly claimed. Good morning, Jean. And yes, I think I am. He kissed me then, slow and deep and full of promises. Outside, the city was waking up. Inside, we were writing the first page of our story. It wouldn't be an easy story. Men like Jean didn't get easy love stories. Women like me didn't usually survive in his world. But we would try. We would fight for this thing between us, whatever it was called. Love, obsession, destiny. I had opened the wrong door and found the right man. Sometimes that's how the best stories begin.